Awesome. Recording.
Yeah, it's already recording. All right. Hey guys, welcome back. A few announcements before we get started. Aaron and I are going to be speaking at the ESETI conference this year, July 15th through the 17th. They have just announced it.
Me too.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Oh, you are too?
I didn't even know that.
We didn't even know that. That's awesome.
So there you go. Another announcement.
There you go.
So they just announced it. It's on the ESETI website. They still haven't announced all the speakers yet, but the tickets are on sale. It's going to be a smaller event this year. They realize it's kind of a last minute thing, so they're not expecting a huge turnout. But if you want to come hang out with us and just enjoy the ranch, those tickets are available, and we will put that link below. And we hope to see you guys all there. It's always fun out there, and if you haven't had a UFO experience, it's the perfect place to go. Also, real quick, just because we're going to be getting into some crazy information today that is unbelievable for a lot of people. Most of the stuff we cover is, but I was doing some research this morning on Project Mannequin, which we're going to be getting into today. And I just thought I'd share this, what I came across. The author is unknown, but it paints a very great picture of what's taking place right now and how they're accomplishing this stuff. People simply don't understand just how technologically advanced the NWO is compared to the civilian sector. We aren't talking about 50 years ahead. We're talking about 1,000 years ahead. We're talking about 1,000 years ahead. Cloning, total mind control, invisibility, anti-gravity, free energy, age regression, soul transfers, energy, extended lifespans, time travel, space portals, ability to cure any disease, time machines, etc., are all already in the hands of the NWO and their military lapdogs. We are living in a make-believe world of pretend democracy while being lied to by pretend representatives, pretend media, and pretend leaders, of which a large percentage are working on behalf of the NWO to destroy this country and usher in the satanic one world government. It pretty much, I mean, it says it all. The technology that's available right now is, like they said, 1,000 years ahead of our time. And when people are disclosing these programs, well, it doesn't make sense because we don't understand these technologies, that they already exist. And there's been whistleblowers for many years now coming forward, sharing their experiences and what is actually taking place. Dr. Sharnael is one of these experiencers, and she has recently decided to come forward. And she has shared some of her testimony on her podcast, Dr. Sharnael True TV, right? That's the name of it, which you can find right here on YouTube, and that link will be below also. It's an incredible story. And I want to thank you, first of all, for coming on and agreeing to share this, because I know this isn't easy for you. Some of this is traumatic information. And it's not easy. I watched you try to tell this the first time around, and I can tell that it's tough for you. So thank you for your bravery and coming forward and sharing this information. And I guess I'll let you give a brief introduction of yourself, and then we can get into this. So welcome to the show.
Thank you guys both, Aaron and Tyler, for having me. And just to be clear, recently isn't the first time I've talked about it. I've talked about bits and pieces of this since like 1999, and actually even before that. Wow. On platforms and conferences. My filter was a little bit different on some of the things because I was coming from a programmed ministry kind of filter with some of the like missing time and, you know, angelic versus alien, who knows, they're messengers, whatever. Angel just means messenger. I definitely have talked to my parents and lots of things about what happened in my younger years within the project. And then just, you know, not understanding some things that have happened, have confided in mentors and or my main team. You know, I had a ministry team for 17 years, and I would know things, and or I would go to sleep and I would have a dream of being in a chair outside the moon or Jupiter or different places in space and be able to see the Earth and know that something was about to happen, let's say in Canada or the US or whatever. But I would be an adult in a chair, the way I saw it. And then when I would come out of it, I would come back, I would share that information on a platform and it would come true. I did not have all the information about Montauk until probably 2006, 15, 16, of really understanding about that project and getting, unfortunately, and knowing that I was a part of that. So anyway, but I did share about it on Carrie Cassidy's show in 2000, either 15 or 16. I thought I was going on to talk about my book, but she knew that I was a part of these projects, and then just live was asking me all this stuff. And I was like, I guess we're going here, you know? So I kind of got outed in a way. And so, but it is very emotional. It's very sacred. It's very difficult. I don't go about everything because because some of it isn't very fun to talk about and or even listen to. But yeah, I did recently have a show where some more things came together for me, and about even now that are coming, you know, more putting some things together and just really diving in a little bit more on some of it. Also, I've had multiple conversations with my parents more recently in the last 3 years of just trying to find out, like, what did they really know, or do they know anything, or was just this all like compartmentalized. But yeah, so I was in Montauk from 73 to 76. My dad was actually stationed there at Montauk. My sister was born there. My birth certificate says that I was in Montana born at 333, which is interesting timing. But my social security card actually says that I was born in Montauk. So that's kind of confusing. I do have memories in the womb of them like messing with me, and that was verified in Mount Shasta 2019. I had an encounter with a gray that basically told me what happened. And I know this, I'm saying it out loud and I'm like, I know it sounds crazy, but
Not to us.
and when the thing happened in
we've heard
Mount
everything.
Shasta, that was like extremely crazy. And I mean, I was shaking. I thought I was going to die. But so to talk about it now, I'm just like, yeah, that's great, showed up or whatever. But yeah, Aaron, I'm glad that you can listen and not be like calling the cops or somebody, you know?
Yeah. No, this is we've heard much crazier than, you know, we've heard it all, Tyler and I, you know.
Right. I mean, this is the platform to share it on.
Yeah, and we know what's real, and this all lines up, you know, with what we know.
And just for the people who don't know, like your background, that you're a naturopathic doctor.
I'm a naturopathic doctor. Yeah, I'm an author.
You're an author of 5
books.
Right?
Yep.
And so you've been, I mean, you probably like, okay, so 2015, 16, or you said 99, you even had some memories. So
I've had memories since like little. I remember telling my parents, like, they're following me, they're watching me on the moon. I remember saying that as a little kid, and they're just like laughing. And I'm like, I would sit in the car in the back seat when they were driving, and I would look up, and I was fully aware I was being watched. And, you know, that just doesn't make sense. I remember sitting on this radiator outside of a window in the hall and watching thunder and lightning and knowing like they're coming to get me, and I wasn't afraid. I would go out there to meet them. Like, I don't know. But yeah, missing time and I remember going to work after missing 8 hours. I was working at a bank at the time, and I went to work just going like, what the F? Like, I literally was standing in my room, or sitting on my bed, standing in my room. A bright light came in. I thought it was coming from the window. I looked at the window, looked at the clock. Next thing you know, I thought minutes had gone by. And then all this stuff happened. I saw some things, I felt some things. And when I came back, whatever, I didn't know I came back. I thought I was just there. And then I got up and walked around. I felt really disoriented, couldn't really talk. Different things were going on. And then basically realized that the clock had only went by 2 minutes, but it was in the morning instead of night. I couldn't figure out, why is it light outside? It's supposed to be dark. It's 8:30 p.m., and
Right.
it was like late for work. And I'm like getting
Wow.
myself together, booking it to work and trying to explain to people, like, I don't know what happened, but I lost 12 hours, and, but things that happened a couple times. And there's just been like weird random things that I would always chalk up to some like God experience, some ministry thing. I've had terrible times where I was taken and woke up traumatized and naked in the fetal position on the side of my bed with my clothes folded right next to me. And I don't fold my clothes. I don't sleep naked. I don't understand some of this, and I still don't understand some of this. And so I'm talking about it, but I can't tell you anything about why or who or what. But
Well-
yes, I did conference speaking in the ministry for 20 years with that filter of, this is what God is showing me kind of deal,
Right. So,
Yeah.
well, thank you again for coming forward and sharing this information. And I think it's actually important to unpack it as you're remembering it sometimes, because for one, that's healing in itself, just doing that instead of holding on to all of it, because now that you've spoken about some of this stuff, you're clearing space and making space for new memories to surface that might need to be cleared too. And it's all part of a process. And there's people out there that are going to be drawn to this, that are listening to this, who have been part of the same programs, because there's the numbers are off the charts about as far as who's been involved or how many people have been involved in these programs. So it's all very helpful. So, okay, your father was stationed at Montauk, and you were there with him for a period of time, and there was some strange things that happened then. But I know from listening to what you've spoken about before, you've come to a lot of realizations as far as, the Project Mannequin and the Max Spears connection, not just Montauk. So I don't know where you want to start with all this as far as sharing your story. I know we started off at Montauk. Maybe we'll just continue from there.
Yeah. So I was there from 73 to 76. I do remember being taken out of my classroom, not just there, but also when I was at another station we were at McCord, which is now JBL. Fort Lewis and JBL came together and have their own base now. It was maybe 2015 or 6. I choose to remember when. Time is like not easy for me. It's always an obsession, but I'm not really good at remembering time. And some people be like, why are you exaggerating? I'm not exaggerating. I often don't remember. Like I don't have a really good spatial timeline of, so I have
I'm
to
the same way.
everything down. But sometime my son-in-law is actually stationed at Fort Lewis, or JBL now. And I went up to go see them. And when I drove by the hospital and this childcare center, immediately I had a panic attack, and like all this stuff came through, and I didn't even know it was there. I mean, there was abuse and there were some other things that happened. And it was just, that kind of was another opening where like a lot of bleed through came. I was going to the dentist. Some other things happened where I just literally had a panic attack when I had to go. I don't go to doctors, or I try not to do any of that. And went to a dentist and the same thing happened. And I literally had to like go to the bathroom, kind of like sit in a fetal position, trembling, trying to get myself together to even sit in that freaking chair. And I was like, oh my God, what is going on? But what with the Max thing, what happened? Oh, I'm gonna get sad. So after the Mount Shasta thing happened, I came home and back to where I live now. And, I was just kind of looking into anything to try to figure out why things are happening and what's happening. And you know how people send you guys stuff, because I have a show and everyone's always like, oh, look at this guy, look at this guy. Well, someone had sent me an interview, and I don't click most of it, but I happened to open this one up, and as soon as I did, it was Max. And immediately was like, oh my God, there you are. Like, I was just totally, my cat's here. It was like relief because I had seen this face for so long. I do remember him in a few different situations, and he was someone who is like a brother or a real strong protector, friend. You know, there's a lot of trauma bonding that goes on with different situations, and I had only remembered one person ever that I know in real life now that was a part of these projects, and he was actually in the same base, Fort Lewis, McCord, and he remembers me. But this is someone that I remembered but had not met in real life. So as soon as I saw him, I was just like, oh my God, oh my God. And I was relieved because I was like, I had a name, because I never had a name to the face. And I looked immediately to see when it was posted. It had been posted 7 days prior. So I was like, this is new. Oh my God, I can find this guy. We can figure out shit, you know? And so I Googled the name, and then of course everything comes up.
It's all right. Just breathe. It's okay. Take your time.
About him being gone. So I immediately was like, went from this high to this like low of not just feeling disappointed beyond disappointment and sorrow and grief, because I felt like I found him and I lost him like in just a couple minutes. But also no answers, no understanding of anything. And I mean, that 3 days after that was pretty rough. It was just like there was a lot of bleed through. There was a lot more bleed through, and also just felt really crazy, and just super sad. Like my heart feels sad even talking about it. But I started, you know, trying to see anybody who knew him or knew of him, and you know, I went to a couple other videos, and because now that I had a name, and like the way he talks and just his, I swear, it's like I have a book, my latest book is The Science of Miracles, and like a lot of the stuff that he talks about is in that book, and this book was published, I guess 2012 or 11 or 10. I have to look and see, I don't even know, or I forget when I post. I have different books, but, and I'm like, oh my God, he talks like me. He's got the same understanding of quantum physics and neuroscience and polarity, and you know, the law of attraction and universal law. And you know, I know a lot of you do, like all of us, there's many of us, but in my circle I didn't have anybody talking about that. I was like the oddball in ministry, you know, to talk about some of this stuff. And here he was, is like, just, it was crazy. And I remember I had called my friend, who I'm not going to say his name, who I do remember from the projects, and was like, oh my God, do you remember this guy? Do you remember, you know, did you see him? Do you know anything about him? And was watching an interview while I was on the phone with him. And over about a week, I can actually, I don't know how to explain it, but it's almost like I could feel like there'd be times when I would talk and it would come out like in a stutter, and it was, or like my head would shake a certain way, certain mannerisms that I was like, what is happening? This isn't me. Like, I don't know how to explain it. And so I had called my friend and I said, is there such thing as someone like piggybacking on me or something? Like, can a person who's dead like take over me or something? And because this is going against all my religious everything. And as soon as I said that, like I was watching this video and Max was being interviewed, and you couldn't see the interviewer, but you could see him turn to the side talking to this person. And right when I asked the question on the phone, he literally turned to me, faced me direct, and said yes, because you are me and I am you. And then he went right back to the interview. And I'm just like, what? And I mean, I just
Wow.
told the guy, I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And so, yeah, I don't know what that is either.
I wonder if that was somehow like if that actually happened or he was able to give you that experience. Like it was since you were in the right setting for him to communicate to you in that moment. I'm sure if you went and watched the recording again, that might not happen on
I
the
actually
recording.
tried to find it and I don't even think it's up anymore. Which believe me, because look, you guys, I'm a scientist. I'm a data person. I'm a researcher. I like data. I like to qualify things. And so, you know, even when I presented some of these things, I'm like, I'm going to show. I'm not going to just say, I'm going to show. And a lot of this, I can't show. I can't prove, you know, and it sucks because it goes against my science logic brain to not be able to provide evidence for things. Now, I will say this, there are a slew of people who say they were at Montauk.
Right.
I'm just finding out. I didn't know until you brought it up, actually, Tyler, but I actually interviewed someone earlier this week who says she was, because I'm like, okay, she says she's the real 11. We'll find out. And when I asked the question, like, well, when were you there? No one can answer. And it's
Well,
like,
that's what's interesting about your testimony because your father was stationed there. You actually went to school there, right? So you
yes,
like you actually have physical documentation and proof and
yes.
evidence that you were there. So a lot of these other people, they have like missing time or they have memories of being there, but they had to have been like abducted and taken there from their home or wherever, whatever the case may have been, and brought back and then mind wiped, kind of like the 20 and back stuff, secret space program stuff. That's all of the testimonies I've heard on Montauk, but yours in particular, like you have a direct, relatable connection. You know, your father was there, and you were actually there as a child as well. It just makes it a little more tangible, and I think that's good information to bring forward because it is hard to wrap your head around. Like, okay, we hear about this project, but nobody remembers when they were there or how they got there. They just remember being there. So this is really interesting to me.
Yeah. And I'm kind of there too. I'm like, okay, but even Max says he was there. I found out just like 2 weeks ago. I didn't know that he was a part of Mannequin or Montauk until like in the last couple of weeks where I've kind of heard some stuff. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I have like tons of information on my phone and things that I've, you know, my dad didn't just work on that radar. He worked on one in Iceland and Japan, and North Dakota. There's several of these. Now, I don't know if there's a chair at every one of them. I don't think there is. I've heard somebody tell me or try to tell me that there was, and they wanted me to confirm it and even used me and said, I just talked to this lady and she said there's chairs all over. And I'm like, I didn't say that. And I won't say that. And if people say, oh, well, she's a super soldier, she's twinned with Max or whatever, I'm like, I didn't say that. I'm not going to say those things because again, I'm very careful. I'm not going to say something unless I can verify it, you know,
Right. And that's
or unless it's my personal experience. But I can't speak to somebody else being in a moving chair. I did hear that there was in Washington, and that's all I know. But I do know that my dad worked in multiple radars, that the radars did a certain frequency that went out. He wasn't given privy information on how they were actually really using it and why. I have drilled him like like nobody's business, and he honestly seems very innocent. Now, he did tell me that we went to Westinghouse, the VP of Westinghouse in England, because they recruited him. That was in let's see, I was like 11 years old, so I'm trying to like whatever time that was. We were living in England. I mean, we were living in Germany, and they asked him to come, and we took a trip to England. We stayed at the VP's house. You know, I'm just a kid. I don't know what's happening, and I don't even know if my dad really knew what was happening. I think he was either going to retire and work with these guys or not. And I know that Tesla and Westinghouse were competitive on tech, and I know that the tech in Montauk was Tesla. So maybe they were trying to hire him to get to see what he knew, or to, you know, get his information. And, you know, I don't know if he just didn't take it because he didn't want to retire yet, or if he just got a bad feeling.
It's
But
interesting.
but
Sorry.
he didn't take it.
It's interesting also because just from a quick search, Project Mannequin seems to be located underground in London in Berkshire. So over in specifically over there, and then they actually name like specific depths and locations and
Where is it? Where is it?
Berkshire. Well, there's a few different facilities, but the one in particular is in Berkshire, wherever that is.
I don't know.
In
But
England.
it's like 200 feet below the ground. The guy gives all the details. I believe that information comes from James Casbolt. But it
Well,
just my whole point is that whole operation is rumored to have existed in the London area.
Well, I lived in London. I went to the University of London, but I also lived there as a kid for a little while.
Right.
Mm.
Well, that's
and-
where Max,
and
you know,
also
Max,
was in
yeah.
Canterbury, right? And actually took a trip to Canterbury and went to the cathedral where he was christened, or whatever you call it. And I went to the bathroom and someone stole my purse. And I just thought that was really, looking back now, I could see that that's kind of like a little bit suspect. But and I don't know, maybe they're trying to figure out what I was doing or who I was or whatever. But
Right. So let's talk about the Project Mannequin and Max Spears and the Ryan Gosling connection. And there's you have a bunch of information that you've come across in your research that's absolutely fascinating. So let's talk about that.
okay, so this was kind of, you know, nothing's an accident, but it is, right? Whatever, it's all coincident, everything's synchronicity. I was watching American Idol, of all things, with my husband, and they had a contestant that came on, and she told everybody on the show that she was the daughter of Chad, someone from Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Chad
And
Smith.
Smith, okay. And I was like, you know, my husband and I were just watching, and I was like, oh, okay. And my husband says, oh, you mean AKA Will Ferrell? And I said, what? And he was like, oh, you don't know? And I was like, no. And he was like, yeah, they're this running thing that, you know, they look just alike and blah, 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 which is interesting because he was on the show last night. And it was a taped thing. And I did get to see him like moving and talking instead of just still pictures for the first time. I'm like, here we go again. But so instantly my husband like grabs his phone and he pulls up, here, I'll do a screen share. He pulls up this picture, and I was like, can you guys see that?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. I was like, oh my God, this is insane. Like, he totally does look very much the same, you know? I mean, the eyes, the nose, like whatever. So, and then there's this picture too. And I'm like, I mean, that's just crazy. And I instantly said, this guy is a clone. Like, that's for sure a clone, right? And so now I don't know a lot. I didn't know a lot about Mannequin. I had heard Carrie Cassidy talk about it, and I do a show with Carrie once a month. And I made a mental note, I'm going to call Carrie and see what she knows about it. And I Googled, but I didn't find a lot. But I'm now finding out that it's because don't use Google, use some of these other kind of things that they would have more stuff.
Yeah.
So, but that night or the next night, actually, my daughter and I were watching a movie, and she had been picking like 4 nights in a row. So I was like, okay, I'm going to pick. And I finally was like, I'm going to pick a movie with Ryan Gosling. Now, the story behind that is, for as long as Ryan has been around, I have not been able to watch anything with Ryan Gosling without being emotional or triggered or feeling like really sad. It wasn't until 2016 that, after I found Max and some other things happened, that I looked there, something came up on TV with Ryan, And I was like, oh my God, they look alike. That's what the deal is for me. I mean, maybe not everybody else thinks that, but that's okay. But in my mind, I was like, no wonder this has been a thing for all these years, is because of this. It was close, but not the same guy, right? It was just like enough to trigger me. So, and I'll show you, let's see. Well, that's me in Montauk. So here's some pictures. This is obviously Max on this
The
side.
eyes, the nose, the mouth.
Right. And just for, you don't have to like clone, you can have a clone that doesn't look like you.
Really?
Yeah. It can be close. It's not exact. I've heard a lot of people explain it as far as like is the consciousness, like they split the consciousness, right? And they have some of the DNA, but depending on if they want it to be exact, they can, but it doesn't have to be exact. And sometimes you can have a clone of yourself that could be a male or a female, but it's still your consciousness. This is also how they, use alters. That's why people have memories in the program sometimes of them being the opposite sex, because it doesn't actually have to be an exact replica of you. But so if there are subtle differences, it doesn't mean that it's not a clone.
Well, I mean, can you guys see?
Oh yeah. To me,
Yeah.
it's just like Chad and Will Ferrell. Like there's
exactly
definite similarities, like some features don't line up, but at the same time, like that's very close. And didn't you say that
Close.
Max actually wrote something about Ryan Gosling?
Right after that, I actually found something that said that he thought that he was, and I was like, oh my God, okay. And
Wait, what did he
that
say
he was
exactly?
either that Ryan was cloned from him, from what I understand. I found out later. And I was like, here, let me see if I could find this other screen share. But yeah, I was like, oh my gosh. So anyway, we picked the movie, and I'm going to show you the movie. The movie I picked was Lars and the Real Girl. And the reason why is because when I read about it, it was about him with this mannequin, which, I mean, I'm thinking mannequin project. I don't know not much about it, but I'm like breadcrumbing here. And let me see if I could screen this.
I've seen that movie.
Have you?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
saw it a while ago.
this is, I never know which way to do the arrows here. Oh no, that's the wrong way. Okay. I see Max in there. I can't help it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But
So-
it's interesting that he carries around like it's the movie might have whatever plot, but what are they secretly trying to tell us?
yes.
It's like direct disclosure almost of like, hey, this is a real project and these people are being
Mhm.
cloned. And it's even Max Spears, just to go off subject, in one of Max Spears' old interviews, he said that Dolly Parton was a clone the whole time, and she was their first experiment to see how the public would react to a clone. And I always found it interesting. Now, obviously, we can't verify that, but that's what he said from whatever information he got. And it's interesting. They gave her the name Dolly.
Dolly the
Dolly.
sheep.
Yeah.
They named the
Yeah.
sheep Dolly. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. And the clone, the sheep, the clone sheep is Dolly. And then there's
Mhm.
also the movie, the doll. What's that doll
Wait,
movie?
the first sheep they did is named Dolly too?
In the
Yeah,
90s, in the mid
Yeah,
90s, they announced that they cloned the first cloned animal was a sheep named Dolly.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
And then Max tells us that Dolly Parton was the first cloned human that was like they wanted to gauge the public's reaction. But isn't there a Dollhouse movie about
Okay.
cloning or what?
Yes. So I
Mhm.
watched the movie, and thank you for bringing up Dollhouse. So I watched the movie, and basically I'm just minding my own business, and then all of a sudden the lady behind this desk refers to the character as Mr. Sunshine. And I was like, what? Because my whole everything, I mean, I've had the song You Are My Sunshine is always like a thing, and I didn't know why. And then I found out that sunshine is actually his like trigger word for changing alters. And you know, the words are you're my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when the stars are gray. You never know how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. And I would grieve over that song. I would just be so freaking sad about it. And it made no sense again, because it's all doesn't make sense. But so I grabbed my phone and I'm like Googling to see, is his name character like Lars Sunshine? Because why would he, you know, and I know that can be a phrase of like, hey, sunshine or whatever, but Mr. Sunshine is a little more professional, I guess. So anyway, of course, it's not his name. And so I'm like, holy crap. And then I was going to do something else. And then actually, this is like 11 o'clock at night. And then Carrie calls me. And Carrie did, we text probably 3 or 4 times a week, because we're in a group chat about the show that we do and anything we always find out, but we don't talk every day. I mean, I probably, the last time I talked to her was maybe 3 months before that night. And when we do, we usually talk a long time and we just catch up. But I was like, I was about to call you. I wanted to know what you could tell me about Mannequin Project. And she's like, okay, number one, I want you to look at the movie Dollhouse, or the show Dollhouse, which I still haven't seen yet. And then she also told me to look at Donald Marshall, which you guys may be familiar with. I think it's Donald Marshall. So I was like, okay, I'm making notes. And then she kept talking. She's like, well, you know why they're doing the cloning thing? Basically, because they're trying to build an army. They wanted to be, you know, these super soldiers who could do whatever, because they're scared to have an ET war, and that they need all these people who can be like very compliant and have all these gifts and like be able to fight and not really buff from taking orders and blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, okay. And I'm just kind of like mentally, whatever, we get off the phone. She also told me one more thing. She did tell me to look up this lady's name. Oh, now I can't remember it, Laureen or something, that had done like a super soldier thing, and to look that up, because there may be something there to that. So I was like, okay, so I just make some mental notes, and basically I'll look up, let me see if I could find this. These are kind of out of order, but I Google this girl and this is what comes up. She's doing some kind of superhero conference or something. Okay, now it's missing. Where did it go? Whiteboard, Facebook. Okay. I don't know where it go. Anyway, it comes up that basically Max's bio is in this conference. I'll just read it to you because I can't pull it up, but it says that in this thing, that he states that he was born in Canterbury, which apparently he's not, but born in Canterbury, and that he states, I was involved in a project Mannequin in the UK, which is an extension of the Nazi Uberman Superman project, created for warrior breeders or breeds. I have a connection to Montauk and time manipulation projects, studied magic and esoteric thought for 15 years to be consciousness after he got his he started getting his memories when he turned 30 in 2008 is what it says. So there's a lot in here. Number one, this is where I could finally verify that he actually was a part of Montauk and a part of Mannequin, which I had never known that until that minute. And then also he says, and a part of time manipulation projects. Now that's important, because one of the memories that I have is about this like pyramid black thing that could fold one way or another. That was a teleportation device that was not like like the chair, you could do whatever, but this was also like a portable one that I haven't, I mean, I don't know how to say it else, but I have memories of being in a group of 5 people. I was the only girl. There were 4 other guys, and they called us a wolf pack. And I have a ton of wolf, everything wolf. And apparently he has a bunch of wolf stuff too. I'm finding out now. But we were on this mission. We were Delta 514, which is, I don't know why I know that, but I've known that since a long, long time. It's been drilled into my head for some reason, maybe literally. And I mean, I have like the whole I can't see. I have a wolf like tattoo. Everything is like wolf, wolf, wolf. The minute that I had questioned, like, what is this 5-person wolf thing? And I had called someone, Dr. It'll come back to me, but a guy had told me about James Rink. I think you guys have had this dude before. He's a quantum physics guy. Oh, why can I not remember his name? But he told me about James Rink, and I had called James, and then I called this other dude who was in the projects with me. And I'm like, do you know anything about wolf packs or Delta 514 or anything with this? And I'm like, it seems weird because you would think that kind of stuff would be like guys, and I'm a girl. So I kind of like take myself out of the equation. And they were like, oh no, there were girls involved in this kind of stuff too. And usually only 4 guys and a girl to each pack, which again, I don't know about other packs, but I only know about my pack. And right when I was doing this, I was in my closet cleaning, I was listening, talking, and I pulled out this box. And when I pulled out the box, I opened it, and it was a chime, like a wind chime, and it had 5 wolves on this wind chime. Like literally as we're doing this, it was like, I just get these confirmations where it's like, oh no, you're on the right track. It's like, I feel crazy until stuff like that happens. But I had bought that like I don't know how many years ago, and forgot about it because I was going to use it for my new house, and then I never moved. And so it was still just stored in my closet in a box. But anyway, so I start looking up Ryan Gosling because I'm like, oh my God, what's the deal with Ryan Gosling? And I know Disney, I understand, and I know his acting. And so I go to look up, Wikipedia, whatever, just to see if anything will jump out at me. And what did jump out at me is he was a part of a 2-man band that was helped, was established in 2008, which again is the same time where Max got his memories. And the other person is Zach somebody, didn't ring a bell to anything. I'm sure there's stuff on him, but the Disney helped him get this together. And also the guy from Red Hot Chili Peppers, Chad and Flea, helped establish this band. And I'm like, no way, because this is all within like a couple days.
What was the name of the band?
Dead Man's Bones.
Dead Man's Bones. Okay.
So the name of the band is Dead Man's Bones, and the name of the first album is also called Dead Man's Bones. Now, I think you have a ministry background, if I'm not wrong, Tyler.
I do.
You do? One of
Aaron
you?
does.
I
Aaron
do,
does.
yeah.
Okay. So when I, coming out of ministry, think of Dead Man's Bones, I automatically think Ezekiel 37. That's just the way I roll.
Yep.
And so I go straight to Ezekiel 37 because it talks about the valley of the dead man's bones. And it basically is all these dead people in a valley. And then there is a call to prophesy over the bones and to tell these bones to live. And basically tendons and joints all come together, bone on together. And then he says, now prophesy breath into these bones. And so he prophesies now breath into these bones that have come together and made a body. And then they come to life. And it basically literally says, and then there was a vast army. I'm not even kidding. And this is like within 12 hours or less. No, this is within like 4 hours of getting off the phone with Carrie. I'm reading this and I'm like,
yeah, they it's almost like they're trying to mimic that with their clone program, bringing life to like these dead bodies or whatever the case may be. It's all metaphor, but it's the same thing. By Project Mannequin, you're creating this army, these clones, and then now these guys who we have some evidence of them probably being a part of these programs. Now they're starting a band that's funded by Disney, who, there's a whole rabbit hole there. And yeah, there's a lot of connections there. And then there's also the band 30 Seconds to Mars. I think you've talked about.
Oh God. Yeah.
Max talks about that. Max used to talk about that.
Which
Max,
talks
what did Max say?
About the band 30 Seconds to Mars. Why I can't remember that he would talk about why that
it's
name.
a Mars. Mars Jump Room. It's
Oh,
like,
yeah, and he said he would remember seeing on a screen, like on his way to Mars on like a ship, I guess, saying like 30 seconds to Mars, and then it would like count down or something like that. I
So there
remember him
is a
talking
jump
about that.
room in LA that goes straight to Mars for sure.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's been a few people that talked about that. They even give the exact address. I think it's like 999 Sunshine Boulevard or something crazy. I don't remember
Yeah.
exactly.
Is it
Mhm.
Sunshine Boulevard?
I don't know. Maybe
Oh
I'm
my
wrong, but
God, if it is.
It might be. That would be crazy.
I know Max says, I actually know the specific interview where Max says it. I'll have to go back and find it. And I'll let
If
you
you
know.
watch the documentary Above Majestic, that he talks about it in the clip, his clip in that
Oh,
documentary.
he's in above okay, above.
He's in Above Majestic, yeah, which came out after he had passed, but
It might be Sunset Boulevard, Sunshine. I
that
know
may
it's
be.
Sun something. I'm pretty sure, but and they even he gives the exact location of where it is.
Well, this is the wolf thing, and then this is the thing where he was in Canterbury, involved in Project Mannequin, blah 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 blah. So there's that. So let me talk about Dead Man's Bones. So Dead Man's Bones, one of their songs is "My Body Is a Zombie for You."
Oh wow.
They
Right.
use a children's choir eerily to even talk about like lambs to a slaughter. Here we go. There's another song called Teen Wolf Heart, or My Teen Wolf Heart, something around that, which again goes back to the wolf thing. And I looked into why did they call it Dead Man's Bones? And they said it was because of Ryan's obsession with the paranormal, which I was like, okay, kind of interesting that he would be so obsessed in starting 2008. Now they're not the same age, but apparently 2008 seems to be a kind of an opening for some new things. I know it was for me personally too. And I think there's set times where we get like more. I know like 2016 was another jump for a lot of people on consciousness wise.
2012,
Yeah.
Yep.
which was my year. Yeah, 2012 seems to be one too.
Okay.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
2016 was mine.
Yeah, 2016 also. Yep. 2008, I could see that. Yeah.
So they said that My Body Is a Zombie for You was actually featured, and get this, guess what movie?
What?
Dollhouse.
Bauhaus.
Oh, of course.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Yes.
There you go.
And the Werewolf Heart was actually featured in Teen Wolf, the TV show. So yeah, I was just like, oh my God, there's just like, I'm unpacking now. Now going forward, somebody actually sent me, let me see if I could pull this up. It's not screen sharing anymore, is it? Okay.
Not right now. You can do it again.
Okay.
It's
All right. Someone sent me this right away when I was just talking about it. And it was like really tiny on my phone, and it was like in the comment section. And it's called The Gray Man. It's 2022, 2 hours and 2 minutes. It was so tiny, you guys. And I was like, oh, that's Max. And that's his film that he never did, because he was given a script to be like an agent, 3-letter agency. And he actually never did the script, but he was supposed to be in this movie, just like Orlando was set to be an actor. Max was supposed to be an actor as well. And Orlando obviously went on to be an actor.
Orlando Bloom.
Orlando Bloom. They were buddies and did everything together as kids and did family vacations together and what have you. When Max started having his memories, he like pulled out and was like, I'm going a different direction. But he was going to do this movie. And I thought that someone had taken a picture of him, because again, it was really small. And again, it looks like, especially really small, looks more like Max to me. But what's interesting, the gray man, okay, thinking about grays, but also a gray man by definition is someone who's kind of incognito, can be used for a lot of weird things without being seen. Max is obsessed with the 22s, all the 2s. He was born on the 22nd of December. But you know, and so I look further, I realize that this isn't him, that this is actually Ryan. So I'm like, okay, what's the deal with this? So I Google and it comes up this trailer. And when I hit the trailer play to see like what this is about, it plays. And right at the 1 minute mark, one of the guys in the movie, it's the guy who plays Thor. What's his name?
Chris Hemsworth.
Chris Hemsworth.
Mhm.
Chris is like, I think, playing James Casball in this movie, and Max is Ryan. And apparently this guy used to be in the 3-letter agency, saw how dark it was, went rogue and was like outing everybody. And now everyone on all the agencies are trying to assassinate him because he's giving out all this information about their dark secrets of what they're doing. And his best buddy in the show was Chris, who is James, I think, but whatever. And in this 1 minute mark, Ryan at 59 seconds says, I don't think I like you anymore, or something like that. And then Chris responds and says, that's okay, sunshine, and refers to him
Oh,
as sunshine
wow.
again. And again, I can tell you exactly, I was sitting in my car and I was just like, no effing way, no effing way, no effing way, no effing way. It gets crazier. Its release date is July 15th, 2022, which is again the twos, but also his death is supposed to be July 16th, Max's, which we don't actually really know because the people, it's all
Could have been
crazy,
the 15th.
but they sent away the police, the coroner, and the ambulance 2 to 3 days in a row while he was dying.
Well, it's
So we don't really,
guarantee it was the 15th because they probably chose that date, like we were talking about our last episode. There's always a ritual or a
Yep.
purpose why they kill people on certain dates, and they choose to murder people in certain areas. So
Exactly.
that 15th date probably has some significance to whatever they're trying to pull off, whatever ritual or agenda. And this hasn't even come out yet. So this is coming out.
And then July 22nd, there's the twos again.
so it's in
Right.
select theaters on the 15th, and then it goes completely to release on the 22nd. So 22nd, 22, 2 hours and 2 minutes, or 126 hours.
2 hours and 2 minutes,
1 and 26.
2022.
Yes.
Well, and then
Unbelievable.
so this is also a Netflix movie, which also tells you that this is them once again telling you what they're doing.
Mhm.
This is their way of telling you, they have to tell you what they're doing in order to get away with it.
Yes, and I would, I don't know if I
So,
can find the
Can
actual.
I want to bring something up that James Casbolt talked about Project Mannequin. This is really disturbing, but when they would torture these kids, they would, or sometimes even kill them, and according to him, they would have their brains hooked up, and they would somehow harness that frequency that was emitted whenever the child was being tortured or murdered, and they would like basically package that frequency, and they would pump that frequency out through 5G towers or specific movies and radio stations specifically to basically lower our morale as an overall humanity, to make us like just not be motivated every day. And like we don't understand why we're feeling sad sometimes, but they're actually harnessing that frequency from the tortured children and pumping it through our media and our movies. And I wonder if like the movies that they're specifically a part of and the bands that they're specifically a part of is pumping that frequency.
I guarantee you.
Yeah. It just, I just now made that connection because I remember reading about that.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah, I
Yep.
you know, this is a lot to unpack, and I'm still unpacking, and I'm just, you guys are filling in some blanks for me as well. So I'll have to study. Where you have to send me that information. Where is that from? The book you're talking about?
No, that's from James Casbolt. I mean, he's done a bunch of interviews, and then there's stuff online, but you can't find it anywhere. Yeah, I have to do any research I do with Brave search or Brave browser.
Mhm. I use Brave browser.
They have a search engine too. It's this Brave search.
I have to start using that.
But you can, like, here's a perfect example. If you type in anything QAnon on Google. You get absolutely nothing.
Or DuckDuckGo.
Or
now.
DuckDuckGo now. You get absolutely nothing. You can't find here's what I was trying to do. I was trying to find the Q drops. I couldn't find, literally they're non-existent on Google. Like unless they're pages or you have to know exactly what you're typing in.
Oh, they scrubbed that. Yeah.
But then the same thing happened on DuckDuckGo. No Q drops. I went to Brave Search. Boom. First results were all the Q drops, everything that you wanted to know, everything. But then I did the same thing with Project Mannequin. Couldn't find, only thing I could find on Google was actual like mannequins and
Right. Me too.
like Macy's would come up or just stupid shit. And then,
Mhm.
but you go to Brave Search, the very first thing that comes up was all this information
Right,
about James
that's
Casbolt and everything.
Yep.
It's not censored like that.
That's
But yeah.
crazy. I'm writing this down. And I'm looking
Do all your research there. I would recommend. Obviously, you can find some simple stuff on Google and DuckDuckGo, but if you're really trying to do a dig, you're not going to get very far.
You're not gonna, and you're gonna get all of the debunked,
Right.
propaganda pieces on Google and DuckDuckGo on the whole first page, usually for all the important stuff.
Right.
So, it's all psychological manipulation. That's why it's in place, to get people to think a certain way about whatever they want you to think.
Well, I mean, not even the people that are in the programs have been trauma bonded, but everybody as a civilization has been trauma. It's trauma bonded mind control, trauma based mind control.
Yes. We've been MK Ultra on a mass level, on a global level. Exactly.
Right.
Yes. And not just with words and pictures, like images to imagination, literally imagination through media. Obviously, you know this, but also even on frequency, like you mentioned with 5G and other things that they're just, I know on Montauk, they would beam a certain frequency and animals would come out of the wild and just hang out in the middle of the street and not know why they were there, or crime would go up, or weather would change, or whatever. And someone actually did scalar waves on me, and I'm the same number that was emitted there in Montauk, which is like, I don't know if that's entrained or like imprinted into me somehow from that, or I don't know, but to be that same level, it's like, what is it? What do I do with that? I know I use my intuition for helping people medically and try to inspire people. I'm taking anything that anyone ever meant for bad, and I'm like, I'm using this for good, and I'm going to like help as many people. Just like when you wanted to do the title Montauk Survivor, I was like, I don't like it because I love you so much, but I see myself as thriving and overcoming, and you know what? Screw all those people who tried to take me out or do whatever. It's like, you know what?
Right. Well, you specifically said it sounded too victimized. Like, and I agree, actually, when I thought about it, I was like, you're 100% right. And that's what I'm talking about. We're mind controlled. And in this way, they were like, we don't even understand our verbiage and what we say, how it's actually inhibiting us from whatever, evolving.
Exactly.
And it's all designed to make us react or respond a certain way that's not in alignment with who we truly are, and therefore it's creating this chaos and all that stuff. But yeah,
they want us to be victims too.
They
That's
do.
the biggest. They want to. We're not, but they want us to embody being a victim, so we're disempowered, and we'll be subject to anything they put out at us. Where we flip that around, we're now affecting reality rather than being a victim,
right.
And that's what you've done. So that's beautiful. I'm so happy for you.
Well, I don't know how great I'm doing it, but it's a
you are.
choice,
just speaking about this, your story, and speaking about this stuff publicly is.
Well, they're doing it in even in the churches, Aaron, like, as you know, like every part of most of the Bible and or every song is like, oh my God, I'm wretched. I need you, help me. I'm nothing without you.
I'm a sinner.
Yeah. Which I love that, I love God. I believe in source, but I'm also, we are with God is on every cell already. We have the technology. We're actually supposed to do greater things than Jesus, who has the highest scalar waves that ever walked the planet. And that is just supposed to be a stepping stone for us. We're supposed to be transportation, my remote viewing, remote healing, like healing ourselves, which we are do anyway. If we don't have all the if we're detoxed and we're not bombarded with all this stuff that's going on. But yeah, they just want to keep us like stuck so they can do whatever and keep us distracted and
keep us feeding their system, because that's the biggest thing I woke up to, is that we're the ones feeding the system. We've been tricked into it. We've been manipulated into, we're the ones powering the whole thing.
We're batteries.
Yeah, we're the batteries for the whole system. So as soon as we wake up and take our power back, the whole thing is going to collapse. And then we can redirect our power to consciously create what we want to create and embody, what we want, our true selves. And then the whole thing is going to collapse. So as soon as we stop feeding into the system, that's why just waking up to who we really are and what's really going on is such a big thing, because it naturally from there, we're going to go, oh, I didn't even realize I was doing this. I didn't even realize this was happening. And then you just naturally stop feeding into it and start creating the reality you want to create. And then we come together, and that's
right.
That's so powerful.
Sorry,
go ahead.
I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just going to say, as soon as you're aware of it, like it loses power over you, awareness. But then at the same time, we can't be complacent, because we can fall right back into it, because the system is designed with distractions to pull you right back in if you're not on guard.
Exactly.
100%.
And it's designed to traumatize you. And that's why they're constantly doing these false flags. And 9/11 was one of the biggest ones, like to keep you in fear, keep you traumatized. So you're constantly in that state. And then
weather, constantly changing the weather. There's a storm here, there's a fire there, blah, blah, blah. Just keep everyone scrambling and freaked out and under stress and worried about everything and worried about fake sicknesses and, or starting sicknesses. Yeah.
There's a whole nother thing. Yeah.
Right. So going back to your story, Max.
Sorry.
So have you had, I know Max would always talk about having connections to the royal bloodline. Have you done any research into your bloodline to see if you have any connections or ties?
So I do know that Wolverton is related to a town in Wolverton where somehow connected to King Alfred, which I didn't know was that's another thing that's just happened over this last 3 years is we, like a lot of people were binging on shows during quarantine. And my background is Scandinavian on one side and English on the other. So I actually have more Scandinavian, and like my dad's dad is English and goes back all the way to like King Alfred. But in this thing, there was like a war with King Alfred and the Vikings that were happening there over Christianity, over land, over blah, blah, blah. And my husband was like Googling, like we're doing, we're always like, whoa, look this up. So he's like, oh, it turns out he's a real person. And so is this guy. And this is a real town and blah, blah, blah. And then I started talking to my family and I'm like, oh yeah, this is actually real. And they're like, oh yeah, you're actually related to that king. And so it's funny because this war, these wars really happened apparently. And like, I was literally, my DNA is literally Viking and also King Alfred in the fight that happened physically, but also that's like within my own DNA. So it's interesting how there's like this kind of genetic maybe battle within two of not even talking about my lab and that whole mix, but but yeah, I don't know what my blood type is. I don't know anything else, but that just came to light in the last like year probably.
Right. Yeah. I just wondered because Max talked about the whole royal family. He had connection with Prince Charles or something, I think.
My parents live on Prince Charles Street.
Oh, really?
That's interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, he had a connection with Prince Charles, but and he would talk about their whole goal as a royal family was So he called them reptilians also. He said they're like, they would to keep their blood pure enough to be at least 50% reptilian or more. That gives them the ability to shapeshift and do these things that we hear about, but we've never seen. And but by keeping that DNA alive within them, it gives them those abilities. And we see, I think that makes a lot of sense right now, and especially with the stuff with the queen, what the queen is doing right now. Did you see that jubilee ceremony that she did with the DNA activation in the tree of life?
No.
Super disturbing. So but it was like some DNA activation thing, but people are saying that what they're trying to do is activate like a dormant 3-strand DNA within us that actually is synthetic or artificially induced. It's like an archon type of energy. And what that's supposed to do is they have to synthetically or artificially induce it by the use of nanotechnology. And by doing that, by activating it, it actually, it holds memories of the third dimension, and it keeps us tied down, tethered to the third dimension, basically to stop the ascension process. So if we're trying to go to fifth dimension or whatever, 5D, if they are artificially altering our DNA via the jab and nanobots and whatever else, and then like the ceremony they just did was disturbing, but that was supposed to be like the activation ceremony. And what that does is it literally keeps people locked into the third dimension by synthetically activating that.
That's what the jab's all about, in my opinion.
Right.
From what I've seen, it's about exactly what you said, trying to lock as many people as possible into the third dimension and stop them from being able to ascend and cut them off from source,
Right.
basically from their own soul, essentially. Yeah.
And then and then did you see real quick, did you see the footage of the hologram of Queen Elizabeth? Yeah,
I didn't see.
Yeah, there's literally like it was like unmistakably a hologram of her, not actually her. Like whatever they're doing right now, something's coming to an end. There's theories that she might be getting ready to die. And then when Max talks about the royal family, he says when one of them dies, it's like a dam breaks, and all of their abusers, everyone that they've abused, because it's an abusive family, they're freed. Like when your abuser dies in the royal family, everyone below them is essentially freed on some level. And so I think maybe if she's getting ready to die, they're trying to artificially keep everyone locked in from being freed. But he said by being freed in return, a lot of memories start to resurface. And that doesn't just have to do with the royal family, but anyone's abuser, once they're gone, once they've passed on, it allows your memories to resurface if they were suppressed. It's all very fascinating, I think.
Wow. No, you have to send me that information. Do you guys know anything about the super Uberman, whatever thing that, let me pull up.
A little bit, yeah.
I would love to know what you guys know, because that seems to be another, hold on, screen share.
I don't know much. I don't know
about the Nazi stuff with that.
Yeah, there's some sort of, for me, oh God, excuse me, I just got like hard to talk. This has been an obsession, is the Superman thing. And when I saw that blip that he wrote about the Uber project or whatever, the Nazi thing, I mean, this is my car, my whole house is Superman, everything. And I was just wondering, like, what is the thing with that? That's the wolf thing.
You know what my intuition tells me about that Superman symbol? Like, I wonder if that's like some sort of ET ancient symbol that they found. Like, and it's not even like a made up superhero Marvel thing. Like, they might have actually taken that actual symbol.
I heard someone talking about that. I can't remember who it was or what they said, but I do remember someone saying something like that.
Well, Uber is interesting because Uber, we have the company, the car lift company Uber, and then they're German based, obviously. So I wonder what's going on behind the scenes there.
Yeah, I know that my house is full of Superman. Every room has got Superman, everything, and then Wonder Woman too, for some reason. But in the supposedly real, it's supposed to be two Jewish guys who made Superman in World War II. to because all these Nazis were killing everybody, and they were like, wait, they don't believe that Jesus was the Messiah, so they were trying to create someone to come help them and support them and save them in the day. And so they did the comic Superman to come, and like all the comics back in that day were like Superman killing the bad guys, from the war. And then it just kind of like went on from there. But I know my very first conference that I ever did on a ministry standpoint was called the Bionic Bride. And that's kind of interesting too. That I named it that. And I was always fascinated with Jamie Summers and the Bionic Man. And I was Bionic Man and Jamie Summers like every Halloween. And I'm in her fan club, and I actually met her once. I actually met Diana once too when I was living over there, which is pretty crazy. And
Really?
saw both the boys. They were little, but they were at a movie screenplay for Hook, the movie Hook. And I happened to be walking out there, and they literally, the limo came out, and there they were. And I was just like, oh my God, kind of Godsmacked, because I was like, that's Princess Diana and the two boys right there in front of me, like probably just a few feet away. But anyway, going back to the Superman thing is the first conference was the Bionic Bride, and I had played this trailer, and the trailer was like Kal-El's dad talking to him and saying, like, they're great people, Kal-El. He said, even though you were raised human, you're not one of them. And then he showed like this span of people going through like terrible things on the earth from a far away distance. And then he said, there are great people, Kal-El. They wish to be. They only lack the light to show them the way. And then he says, this reason above all, their capacity for good, I have sent them you, my only son. And then it shows like Superman come darting down to the earth to like help, and it shows all his superpowers, X-ray vision, can't get a bullet, like all that kind of stuff. And so for me, it was like an anchor for me to remember my own technology, from like that all of us are supermen and women, and that we all have this amazing technology to do, again, transportation. And I've bilocated a few times by accident. I don't even know how. And or just knowing things that don't seem to really make sense about celebrities or different people. And a lot of the stuff I talk about in my book, as far as like how to tap into that for everyone to do it on their own. But yeah, I was just wondering if you had any understanding of this Uber project, because it came up on that blurb, and that's like on my list to kind of look into it a little bit more. Oh, and this is me in Montauk, by the way. That's me and my mom and my dog Mitzi. But
Nice.
Yeah, I don't have any information about that, but it's fascinating, and I do think that you're 100% right. And this is another, you said that you think like Max. I don't know, like if you've listened to many of his interviews, but he talks about that same exact stuff about like their whole goal is to suppress us from our abilities, and we're like superhumans, and we can do all these things, and like every single one of us, because he was asked in an interview, like, why do you think you could do this? He's like, all of us can do it. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Everybody can do it.
Right. And it's really interesting.
It's there's a few things that keep us from doing it. Obviously mental, the programming. If the programming wasn't there, we would be doing a lot in itself. Physically, we're not doing as much because of the air, the food,
the frequencies,
our choices, the frequencies. So frequency and willpower is huge, of just being, not drinking and doing drugs, not, making sure you're eating good and, vibing up and not letting anything attach, because when we do recreational or anything alcohol, we lower the frequency, which then entities can attach, and that causes, and I see a lot of these MK Ultra people, and I get why, because I was there, of where you just kind of want to just not be here anymore. When you start getting all the, that pretty much for about 2-3 years, I was not in a good space at all to talk about things or just to cope with anything. And I could see why so many of us, anybody, would have taken a couple of these last 3 years, especially, to either stay completely out of their body, and not be able to, to stay in what's happening, because it seems like a crazy storm of just like, what world are we in?
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's frequency, it's minerals are huge. This junk DNA that we supposedly have can be turned on by minerals, but they take the minerals out of the food. A lot of, we don't supplement, not all of us, but supplementing and, eating good foods, and crystals are a big thing. Which again, after I had this encounter, where this book came out, I just came out and I was like, oh my God, I had this insatiable drive to understand essential oils and frequency of the oils, also sacred geometry, and definitely crystals. Like, it was just like, I want to learn anything. And I was able to retain that information, which sometimes information doesn't stay for me, but it was like, oh, I can remember that, and I do. And it's just like, oh, boom, that's that, and it just stays. But so I had made like a crystal card deck so people can carry frequency with them. I'm trying to write as much as I can so people can like remember. The whole thing is about remembering, and that's why the book is called The Science of Miracles, Remembering the Frequency of Love. Because when we stay in the love frequency, that's where miracles happen. And this is where we can do all the bilocating and the transportation and teleporting and mind, having sovereignty over a lot of this stuff that's coming, and just being like, nope, you're not coming in my field. And
Right.
I'm able to measure people's width of their field, their radius of their field. I can tell where they are on the map of consciousness. I could see whether their chakras are out, if their male and female energies are off. And what I'm seeing in my people is, the more this is aligned and they're all going in the right direction with the chakras, and the male and the female is balanced, and the higher the consciousness will be, and the higher the consciousness is, the bigger the influence is. And so, you're talking about being stuck in 3D. Probably 80% of the people that I work with are right at the 3D level, and they have about a 4 foot to 5 foot radius or width as far as their field. But I have tested people who are 16 feet out, and they're in the 400s on scalar waves, which is 4D already. There are people walking the planet who are 4D and 5D already. So when we get to that tipping point of people coming out of the 3D, it doesn't even take a bunch of us. But if we can all just stop with the black and white and gender this and all this like polarization, when we can just like take a step back and remember unity and remember the frequency of love and stay in love, then the more of us that they can do that as a collective, this 3D world will collapse whether they like it or not, and we're going to be soaring up. It's already happening. I've measured some people who had up to 20 feet in their radius.
Wow. So this sounds like, I'm going to read another quote here because I just came across this morning, but what you're talking about is exactly this. This is a James Caspol quote. The dark factions in the secret societies are trying to close the conduits to this higher frequency love energy through their digital signals. These groups are using these desperate tactics to block the huge frequencies of love and enlightenment that increases by the day as our planet moves closer to the galactic center. And obviously, spoiler alert, I already posted this, that it's, nothing can stop what's coming. We're gonna thrive in these frequencies, and that's what they're scared of, and that's why we're seeing everybody panic right now. But I also, just the other day, like all coincidentally, I didn't even realize why I was actually motivated to make this shirt, but I think I'm going to gift you one of these shirts because it's perfect for you. I'll share my screen real quick. But yeah, these are now available on our Teespring page, and that link is below. But can you see that?
Yes, love it.
Right. So I think you earned one of these shirts. I'll mail you one
And
of
it's
them.
the same colors of
Oh,
yeah, those are
nice.
very important colors. And even this this Merkaba with the flower of life behind it is very, very important regarding DNA. So that's really cool. That I love. Those are all my favorite colors. Yeah, I love that, like the magentas and the teals and the purples and the blues and the pinks. Those are very important colors.
Turquoise, yeah.
Maybe on a subconscious level, I was inspired by this interview. I didn't even know why.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Wow. So, thank you so much.
This has been amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on and sharing all this. We got into some absolutely fascinating information. I know a lot of that stuff isn't easy for you to cover. So thanks again for sharing all that. But I think we really unpacked a lot, and not even just for ourselves, but just for the people listening. You know, we kind of take for granted. You know, sometimes we've been researching for so long, we understand this information, but there's always new listeners who are going to hear this stuff and like, whoa, what? Like, they're doing what now? Like, this is all happening. What's Project Mannequin? Never heard of it. You know, stuff like that. So I just think it's important that we discuss all this today. And thank you for coming on. Can you please let people know how they can find you and how they can follow you?
Yes, absolutely. And likewise, you guys are like amazing, and I follow you. And you guys have been on my show a few times, and we need to have you back and have a little family reunion and do something again with Craig and I. So just thank you so much. And maybe I guess I'll see you in July as well, or somehow we'll figure that out.
Right. Yeah, guys.
Yeah.
Come out to East Eddie. Come hang out with all of us at East Eddie. Yeah.
Yes. But you can find me at swiftfire.org, swift as in quick fire.org. If you go there, you can see my podcast. You can see all my YouTube stuff. My channel actually got taken down last year, had a ton of followers, and all of those people are gone. I had to restart over completely, lost 15 years of all my content of tons of great information, but we're slowly rebuilding. Have a lot of guests like you guys there. I have my remote scans there. My soul audits are available to do sessions. If anybody wants to do a session, my books are there. My card deck is there. I actually pulled this card for us today, and it happens to be Shungite. And on the back of every card, I'll send you guys a card deck in my book, but on the back of every of these cards, there's 80 cards. And it tells you like what Shungite is good for. It gives you a decree to match in frequency, and then also companion oils that match in frequency. But this one is known to absorb all negative energies and transmute them to positive. Also, nice. It's great for supporting healthy natural inflammatory response. Cleanses your water, which we're supposed to be 75% water in the body and 90% up here. Extremely valuable to the body system, neutralizes any organism in your body that could be considered harmful. The decree is, I am clear, pure, balanced now in my mind, body, soul, and spirit. And the companion oils are clove, tea tree, hyssop, and rosemary. So whoever wants to like grab that energetically, these we found out, we tested them. Like if I tested you guys and gave you these crystals to hold, I could test you and you would be strong. If I took them away, you would be weaker. If I give you the same card and you hold it just in your field, you'll be just as strong as if you had your crystals, which is kind of crazy. And why I made them so people can put them under their pillow or in their backpack in their car or whatever. But
right.
Yep.
Is that
Yep.
David Hawkins muscle test that you do?
I do muscle tests. Yes.
Right. That's kind of what they do with the Omnia balancer. They muscle test when they're with and without those, and it's pretty wild what it actually does. And actually, this is a piece of shungite right here hanging. It's a piece of orgonite shungite, so it's powdered shungite in the resin. But I keep it here. Whenever we first got these microphones and all this tech and this equipment, like I couldn't handle the frequency, so I have pyramids everywhere.
I have all over too. Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
and
I have 4 shungite pyramids.
No, this is actually so our friend Mason Fury, who we've had on the show in the past, which I recommend highly going checking out his episode if you haven't. But he makes these now. His company is Merlin's Lab, and we're affiliated with him. And you can actually get 10% off of these with promo code Journey to Truth, all caps, and that link is below. Might as well do the plug while we're talking about it. But these things, this is a large one. He makes all different sizes. They're absolutely incredible pyramids.
Yep. And Aaron, you were saying you do a lot of shungite too?
Yeah, I have like 4 shungite pyramids and some stones as well. Yeah.
Right.
That's great.
Awesome. Well,
And
I
then,
hope to see you guys somewhere out there soon, and all your people too. What were you gonna say? I'm sorry, Tyler.
oh, then I'm just going to keep doing some plugging, the Omnia patch and the pendant, which Aaron and I are both wearing. It has the same technology in it. It's amazing. I love it. I actually wear it every day. But those are available for 10% off with promo code truth, all caps, on the link below. If you're looking for something that's not going to block the EMF, but it like harmonizes it. It like harmonizes the frequency and your own energy field. And it turns like everything we're being bombarded with to actually something that's not killing us, you know?
Perfect.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
there you go. And if you're looking to try a new CBD, Hopewell Farm CBD is absolutely amazing. And I highly recommend it. It has just about as much THC as legally possible without being illegal in it, but it's some good stuff. And that is available via the link below. Promo code Journey to Truth 10 gets you 10% off of that. Thank you. This has been a lot of fun. We covered a lot today.
Thank you.
And I want to thank your cat
Yes.
also.
Yeah.
This is
And your cat.
Blue. I found him in a wall. My daughter did driver's ed, and they kept hearing like crying coming from the wall. And she like calls me. She's like, it sounds like a baby's crying in the wall. And the director called me and everything. We went in there and we had to break the wall
What?
out, but he had fallen from the roof. He was like just days old.
Oh no.
Eyes
Oh,
weren't even open, so I bottle fed him. But I foster animals. I've had 98 kittens in the last 4 years, and we
oh wow.
bottle feed them until they're 2 pounds. We go get them fixed, and then we get them adopted most of the time.
Nice.
Wow.
My
That's
husband's
awesome.
listening. He knows that we don't always adopt them.
Well, you can tell that he appreciates
Oh.
you. I mean, look at them hanging out behind you. That's
Yes,
super. Sweet.
they purr at 157 megahertz. So
Really?
our body is at
Yeah.
like 50, 67 on a regular good day. And
Mhm.
they come around and they just sit right on you and start purring. They know how to move those frequencies up.
Right. It's
When you're down.
extremely
I've
healing.
heard people
Yeah.
talk about that. Yeah.
Right.
We have a cat here. Yeah. He's adorable too. I love him.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. And we'll see you around, and just keep doing what you're doing. And I'll be in touch about a time to get you back. I have
Yeah,
a
well,
specific
Yes.
topic I want to talk to you guys about. The
Perfect.
Mandela effect. What do you think?
Yeah,
Yes.
let's do it.
Great
I
topic.
love the Mandela effect.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah, I just talked to Craig about it, and I'm like, let's get them back and talk about Mandela effect. Okay.
perfect. Perfect. I have a lot of
Perfect.
theories on that too. It's very, very interesting to me. But we'll see you
That's
at the
definitely
conference
real.
too. We're going to be seeing you in like a month.
If
So
I'm not there, I might zoom in if I can't like physically be there, but it would be cool to see you guys.
no, we're going to manifest it. You have to physically be there.
We'll
you
see
can't-
what happens.
Yeah.
If you get invited to East SETI and you don't have to pay, like do it because
Yeah.
like it's definitely a place that everyone should at least experience once.
I've been, and I saw some crazy stuff.
Oh, you have been
Oh,
there.
you've
Oh
been?
yeah.
Nice.
We saw all the stuff coming out of the mountain. My
Right.
husband and I went. We did. We were up there when Peter Slater was there and John Vivanco. We did
Yeah.
the remote
Nice.
healing class with them.
Oh,
You
okay.
were at nice.
So you must have. What year was that?
2019.
Was it 2 years, 3 years ago?
2019.
Because they didn't do it in 2020. Yeah, I know they did it in 2019.
We were there. We literally just missed you. I think we were there, and then we left, and then like I think the following weekend was the remote viewing class.
Oh,
Yeah, we were
Okay.
there.
Yeah,
right
we were-
before
we
that's
were
that.
crazy.
Doing some
Just missed
construction
each
and
other.
stuff there. Yeah,
Awesome. Was Peter there when you were there?
not at that time, but he's been there in the past while we were there for a conference. But,
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, he is. He is amazing.
Awesome.
All right. Well, good night, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining us, Sharnael, and Kat.
And Blue.
Guys, we love you all. We truly appreciate your support. We can't do this without you. I know I always say that. Don't forget, if you guys want to catch a replay of the conference, is still available at secretspaceconference.info. If you're interested in watching that, that is still available. And don't forget, if you want an Activate DNA t-shirt, those are available at our Teespring store with 20% off with promo code 20 and back. So take advantage of that while it's still active. We love you. Good night and see you next time.
Bye, thank you.
All right.